everyone, and welcome to Almost Cancelled. I am Peter, that is Connor, and we are going to talk about the Umbrella Academy Season 2, Episode 6. It's called A Late Supper. So, full spoilers for the episode, as always. First things first, actually, I'll apologise for the gap between Episode 5 and 6. It wasn't specifically Umbrella Academy that got pushed. It's just more noticeable with that, because there was supposed to be, like, multiple of those. There was, like, 2 or 3 days last week where me and Connor just couldn't record anything, so Umbrella Academy just like skipped a chunk of time. There was no new Star Trek last week and some other things, but we're here now. Talk about episode 6. Finally getting the big meeting with the father. It kind of builds up to this tiki lounge scene. Borrowing a track from the Mr. Robot season 2 soundtrack. I noticed on the way into the building. Not that Mr. Robot was probably the first to use that song, but now everything shall be compared to it when anything uses that song, because it's going to make me think. I was going to say,
I'm glad you added the bit about the song there, because if anything shall be compared to it applies to all TV, then, well, most TV is not looking so hot.
No, as soon as it started, I'm like, wait, this is the bit, and I don't want to spoil it just in case you don't see Mr. Robot, because it's kind of a twisty moment that it plays at, but I was like, wait, this is the song that plays in Mr. Robot. So yeah, we were a bit more positive on 5 than we were on 4. 6, I feel kind of similar to 5 for the most part.
I do, with one major caveat, which, if we had recorded when we were originally supposed to, wouldn't have been an issue. However, I watched it a couple of days ago, and then I went to, today, setting up, like, okay, have I watched everything I need to do before we record, get everything ready. And I went, okay, Umbrella Academy, need to watch the next episode. It was so kind of forgettable in my head that I thought we'd already had this conversation. I thought we'd already talked about this conversation. I had to watch another one.
Did you accidentally watch the next one?
No, I didn't. I went to, and I was like, did we? I've really sat there and thought about it, and just having to do that is a little concerning.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, I'll be honest. Like because it had been a few days, I really didn't remember it off the top of my head. It wasn't until I looked at the episode and skimmed through it and went, oh yeah, it was this one with these scenes. Okay, right, I know what it is now. But yeah, it wasn't something that kind of was instantly memorable in my head. Yeah, I mean, I kind of, a lot of my feelings are very similar in the sense that I'm still not really feeling the Vanya romance. I don't know if the chemistry is just kind of lacking, combined with the plodding kind of predictability of it. Is
I think it's more the latter, because I don't think the chemistry between them is bad.
I wouldn't say it's bad either, but it's also not like notably good either.
It hasn't got some of the spark that it could have. I'll grant you, but it's not. The chemistry is not distracting me, so I think it's more just the pacing and just the by the numbers nature of some of the sequences.
Yeah, it just sort of feels so back and forth. Like, I've forgotten the wife's name.
Sissy.
Sissy, thank you. Like she's, had to tell her to go away, and she's with her family, and she can't run away. And then this episode, it's just, now she's back to say that she does care about her, and now they are going to run away together again. It's just so back and forth without much. And again, it's kind of like, and it's not so much that I'm saying that you have to kind of inspire every choice that's ever made on camera, right? Because I was complaining a lot in episode 4 about Klaus going back to the soldier and whatever. I'm not saying we actually had to see something for Sissy to her to show up in this episode and to continue this forward, especially since she doesn't actually show up with the intent of saying, hey, I want to run away now. It was more like, I want to talk about what happened because I feel bad, and it developed into let's run away again. So that's fine. I'm not really making that complaint here, but just in the sense that it does kind of feel like we haven't seen anything from her, and then she shows up, and then we continue the plot from just kind of the natural point. And the one notable thing is that the husband is kind of spying on them and like seems to know something's up, if not completely what's up, and there's going to be some fallout because of that. I almost don't think we needed the portion of them falling out and her saying, oh, I can't run away with you, and Vanya being sort of upset about it for a while. I feel like that entire step, we could have just skipped to, he's been spying on them, he knows something's up. Like, it feels like a step that's not really accomplished anything to me.
I agree. I can only assume the only reason for it in a plot narrative perspective here is they needed a reason for Sissy to go out and see her outside the house for him to spy on. And there's no... They thought that they obviously decided that was the best way to get to that point.
Yeah, because him standing watching at his own house where he doesn't have to move anywhere would seem far-fetched.
I know. But
I don't know.
I guess the idea that maybe they'd be more careful in the house.
Okay. Whereas, I think, likewise, the other one that I'm not loving too much is the Klaus stuff with the soldier. There's some scenes here where there's some funny stuff with the cult where he tries to tell him he's a fraud, and the cult guy's just kind of like, yes, I'm a fraud too, we're all frauds. And
all the actual cult stuff and all the stuff with him and Ben, I think is wonderful. Very funny.
Yeah, I mean, immediately I kind of like Ben being in love with this Jill character, who we've barely met. She just kind of walks in, because he talks earlier on about Jill's got the big wide eyes, and it's like, okay, he's got a crush on someone in the cult. But when she walks in the door later with the soldier guy, and he just goes, Jill. I actually laughed. I thought that was funny.
Yeah, and like, Ben's obviously telling Klaus he's got to come clean and, explain it to them. And the whole time where he's giving his speech and they're not taking it, Ben's just sat there on the side, like, unbelievable. And Klaus is like, I tried. I've really tried. What do you want me to do? And I don't know. All that side of things I'm enjoying.
Yeah. The actual
stuff with Dave is a bit...
that stuff, I mean, sure, it was mildly amusing that he says your favourite book is Dune. Is that your favourite Dune's book? I was going to say, your favourite book is Dune. He's like, I've never heard of. He's like, you will. You're going to love it. It's not out yet.
I think it's a little frustrating, though, isn't it? That the other bits, the fun stuff, I'm enjoying that. The actual character drama, the stuff that should be compelling, that I'm like, this is what I'm actually here for, isn't. I'm like, it's like, whatever. I'm here for the fluffy fun parts.
Yeah, because he comes to apologise, which is fine. I get why he wants to apologise for the punch and what happened in the previous episode. But it's just frustrating from a storytelling sense that the entire thing kind of, like, take that part out of it. It's just the same thing again, where they have a conversation, he's open to hearing what Klaus has to say, but then when he actually gets to the details and starts talking about time travel and that he's going to die in the war, he just kind of, like, rejects it and, yells at him and runs off. It just kind of feels like, again, we have an encounter where there's maybe some hope in the middle of the conversation, but by the end, he doesn't want to believe him anymore, and that's it.
The only maybe interesting implication from this for me was that he's already enlisted. After the encounter with Klaus, his uncle dragged him down to enlist right there and then. That
Klaus actually essentially sped up
the process. Yeah, and the idea that he's made it worse, and Klaus having to go through that guilt. That could be interesting.
Yeah, that's not a bad little twist on it. I'll agree with that. I also, we've been saying that Alice and stuff has been kind of, her and Raymond have been kind of one of the best sort of character-specific plots, and I think this is true again in this episode. We kind of, the start of the episode is, we see her arriving again and kind of the fallout from that afterwards, where she was chased by some thugs, and that's how she ends up in the salon, and then eventually meets Raymond, and we even get here. I don't know if it doesn't really specifically say it, but it tends to imply that her first spoken word is her telling him her name. I
think at least her first word to another person. She might have been practicing to herself, like, in the mirror, which is on her own.
Yeah, I can see that.
But as an actual conversation, which is obviously a huge step, I do think this was the first time she managed to say something to someone. And that's a big deal for her, and I think it's important that we got to see that.
Yeah, no, it's good. And their first kind of moments together, and it gives some more weight to that. But it obviously goes forward to her telling him about Obama and him being kind of in complete shock, and then kind of just not believing her and saying, "Well, you got this power, prove it." So they go to a fancy tailor, and the guy's like, your husband can't try on clothes in here, get out. And she just, whips out, I heard a rumour. And immediately we get a nice little montage of him trying on all these clothes, these fancy suits, and he leaves looking all dapper with his nice hat, and he's all excited. And it's funny that immediately he kind of falls into the pitfall.
We can use this.
Yeah, we can use this for the movement. We can use this to change the world. And she kind of smells it off, but it's like, yeah, this is kind of like what she's thought in the past and ultimately learned that she can. And kind of almost gives him an example of where it can go if it's used willy-nilly without the thought and without the foresight of it, because she goes into the same the cafe, the diner that she arrived in, the one where they had the sit-in, and tells the guy, I heard a rumor that you served me coffee, and he starts pouring coffee into the cup, and she keeps telling him to pour it, keep pouring it, until the point where he's just burning his hand. Like there's just hot, scalding coffee.
It's just all over him, and Raymond's getting very concerned because the man is visibly in pain, and he doesn't want this. And I have to wonder, did Alison? Do you think she did this on purpose to make a point to scare him into, this is why I don't use them? Or do you think she genuinely got a bit caught up in the moment after the heat of what had gone on just, a couple of nights before, and she kind of lost herself in the satisfaction of hurting this guy a bit?
Yeah, I would guess a bit of column A, a bit of column B, where she wants to make the point, but then she goes way further with it than she ever intended would be my guess. And at least a really interesting beat where when they get home, he's like, have you used it on me? And she says, no, of course not. And we believe her because we know that she's intentionally held it back, and just in general she tries not to. But then he says, but if you had done, would I know? And she can't really answer him, and he knows what the answer is just from the reaction.
And it's there, that seed of doubt. Can he trust her now that... And even if she hasn't done it in the past, which maybe he's willing to believe that, it's how can he know she won't ever use it on him at some point in the future?
Yeah, which is maybe why she liked him not knowing that this is a possibility, that this is, that trust is there.
Yeah.
So, I think definitely the most interesting questions that are raised from this plot line because of their trust for each other. Obviously you have the civil rights side of things, which has been in the previous episodes, but this episode I think introduces a lot of other really specific character dynamics between them that I think puts it head and shoulders above all of the other side plots that all the other characters have.
It's not even close.
Yeah. So, and then of course you have 5 with the handler, and basically the offer where she's like, hey, I want you to kill the secret team of people who run the commission, the board. The board, yes. They meet in secret in different time periods, and I know what the next one is. And she does it through this music metaphor where she's like, hey, I'll go back to 2019. He's like, yeah, but the apocalypse. Like, well, that doesn't have to happen. And I'm glad that 5 immediately went, wait, I specifically remember you telling me that it had to happen. It's like, that was the company line, but if I'm in charge, then, jazz. And she starts doing a little jazz dance.
Yeah, it's all freeform. We can change things as we go.
Yes. Obviously don't trust her. And there's a scene later on when she's with Lila in the bingo hall where she says, well, this is accountability where we can just blame it on 5 if it goes wrong. Is why she's not, because Lila's like, why not me? Why can't I go and kill them? I'm a good assassin.
Plausible deniability.
Yes, I'm a good assassin, damn it. I'm the best of the assassins.
And she's like, I'm sure you are, love, but I don't want you attached to me. Yeah. Which I think is interesting because I'm still not sure how much the commission really knows about Lila. I don't know. She feels kind of like the handler's secret weapon right now.
And maybe that's kind of part of the motivation, is that if she can be in charge, then she can make Lila kind of official, and it's not something she has to hide. It's not something she has to... Because right now, if the commission knew about her, would they be okay with it? Would this be something to try and change?
It's a possibility. I think you're giving the handler too much generosity. Heart, yeah. I suspect she likes having a secret weapon that, an off-the-books agent. I think that's useful to her, and she'd like to keep it that way. She doesn't want to reward Lila with an official place. Yeah.
Of course, it's after the meeting with the father where he realizes, because he basically says, I'll think about it, but you're not really my last option yet. But then after the meeting with Hargraves, at the end of the episode, he comes back and says, okay, I'm in, right, what are we doing? And I've been saving obviously this meeting because I think Diego and Luther are basically just the build up to the meeting itself. There's the whole Team Zero thing where he's trying to say to Diego, hey, he's going to get in our heads, he's going to turn us against each other. That's what always happens. Like, no, none of this number 1, number 2 bullshit. We're Team Zero, and he's trying to make that a thing. But when they all get together and they go up to the Tiki Lounge and walks in, and this again, one of the things we were saying last episode, how just the shift in enjoyment and the energy when they're all together in a room. And again, they're all getting into this elevator one by one, and it's just like all of a sudden there's just this energy to their interactions, to the there's a fart joke, but it works. I wasn't annoyed by the fart joke because it all of a sudden it felt like it was clicking.
It's because it's not just a standard fart joke. It's seeing these characters all react differently, right?
Yeah.
And that's that spark that's just missing when they're not there.
And the one thing we didn't mention about Ben and Klaus, which plays into this scene, is that Ben's kind of experimenting with going into Klaus and kind of possessing him essentially, and it's really difficult. He almost gets the words "I'm Ben" out when he possesses him in this scene. I would probably hasten to guess that if Klaus actually relaxes and lets him do it, then he probably could just actually do it properly and form full sentences.
Probably. I suspect there was enough here that the others will figure out. They know what's going on.
Yeah, but they're all trying to prove that they've got powers. Vanya explodes the pineapples and whatnot on the table
with a significant degree of control that she's never really had before.
Yeah, well, I mean, the fact that afterwards she gives it a little oops, which, given that she blew up the moon last season, feels like, oh yeah, okay, we can the show can have that flexibility where we can sort of treat this lightly now. It's not beholden to.
It's not causing the apocalypse anymore.
Yeah. It's not beholden to like having to always treat this as super dark just because it happened to be the super dark ending of season 1, which is cool, which is fine. But I just want to know who you all are, right? I've looked into it. You're not a member of any intelligence community, so who are you? And they explain themselves, and highlight of the scene is probably when he talks down Diego, because Diego's like, you this is a photo of you. The president's going to die and blah blah, and he's like, you were in an institute recently, right? And yes, you think you've got this complex that you're a hero, you're the last good man trying to save the world, but you're actually just horrified by the thought of your own insignificance. And Diego's face, the actor just like gets a bit more weepy and weepy as it goes. He starts off really stern and like, I'm going to take on the old man, and then by the end of it, he sort of sits down. He's got a tear down his cheek. He's like, "You're wrong."
He's been a bit broken by his dad.
Yeah, that was probably my favorite moment of the scene. But obviously, this scene's the highlight of the episode. There's no question this gathering of everyone is the highlight.
Yeah, not even close.
Yeah, it's kind of the show at its best when it's got everyone together. So yeah, I mean, that's kind of it. The dad's like, well, I'm not going to help you. Like, you're a bunch of superpowered people. Why don't you band together and figure this apocalypse out? And he just, he wants to talk to 5 because 5 seems like the most sensible one.
Yeah, I did like their little, bar scene together where they kind of bond over. 5's obviously, an old man, and and how he can see that. It comes across, and he, he doesn't just look at him like a 16-year-old boy. He can recognize the kindred spirit.
Yeah, and it actually feels like he's the only one who he treats with some amount of respect. And this is obviously, and the fact that he doesn't have a proper answer, because he's like, because 5 apologizes for being a bit of a shit as a kid, and they kind of like bond over it a little bit, which leads him to accepting the offer. Notably though, in the meantime, the handlers went to the 2 remaining Swedes. I did enjoy the line "unharm my wiener," when she was grabbing the tall one's dick, but she's basically saying, "Hey, I know where Diego is if you want revenge." I will say, I was distracted in this scene because they're in a steam room, they're in a sauna, and obviously the joke here is that it's hiding the nudity because she's completely naked, they're both completely naked, so the steam's like right up to her neck basically, or at least her shoulders, and it's enhanced with CG, and CG like fog or steam it's got this look to it where it doesn't look like natural steam or fog. You can kind of tell that it's intentionally been added on after the fact to hide.
It's thicker than it should be.
Yeah,
a lot of the time.
So it looked a bit off and it was distracting me the whole time. It's just a little technical thing that annoyed me, but
yeah, I think the thing is with steam and fog is even when you're in it, in reality, and it is obscuring something enough that you can't actually make it out, it still doesn't perceive as a solid object. It's still layered. It's got the wisps, and I don't think CG ever really captures that ever.
Yeah, so that kind of just stuck out to me. But this leads to the Swedes going to the place, and unfortunately, they kill the dude, the nerdy dude, whose name I've still not learned after all these episodes.
I did have it a couple episodes ago.
Elliot.
That's it.
There you go. Elliot, unfortunately, is taken out. There's a really stupid moment when Diego and Luther get back. There was something that really annoyed me. And I actually really loved like them finding his dead body because he had this like spike or whatever it was, or maybe it was like a kitchen utensil, but it was like going right through his face. It was like going up through his mouth and then out through his nose or his eye or something. It was like it going right through. It was really icky and like in a cool way. But there's a moment where they come in and they see blood on the floor in front of them, right? And Diego like pulls out his blade and he walks off to the left as if to search the place. And then Luther stands up and just walks forward and immediately sees that the body's sitting in a chair. And I'm like, there's a direct line of sight from where the blood is to where he was sitting. Why did Diego sort of like take off in another direction? I don't know. It felt
Correct
weird.
me if I'm wrong, because I didn't skim this like you did.
Uh-huh.
Is the body not lower down, like it's on the floor below? So it's like they go over to the balcony and look down at the body.
No. Because when they look over the balcony, there's like a message written in Swedish.
You're right. Yeah.
The body is just right in front of them, and there's no obstruction. There's a clear line because even when they actually go to the body, you can actually see the front door in the background. So the geography of this scene, why they didn't immediately see him first before they even see the blood. Never mind the fact that Diego takes off to the left to another room to search for where Elliot is bizarre to me.
Contrivance.
Yeah, just a contrivance in the layout of the scene because they wanted this moment. But the fact is, though, is that Luther just kind of like stands up and immediately notices him. I'm like, why? What? Like,
they were looking in that direction before they looked down and saw the blood, presumably.
Yeah. So the scene just didn't make a whole lot of sense to me from a line of sight point of view. But hey ho,
it's frustrating though when that happens.
Yeah. But not a bad episode overall, though. I liked them all together. Alison's plot's pretty good. 5 stuff's fine. You know, it's fine plot stuff. It's not super exciting, but it's all right.
Klaus was hit or miss depending on which side of the plot it was doing.
Yep. So, there you go. So that was okay. So yeah, we're back with 7. Should be tomorrow. All things go well and to plan. So look forward to that. Let us know what you thought of this one in the comments below. Please do liking is the easy and free way to support everything we do, and let us know you want more of this particular type of content. You can also support us financially over at patreon.com/MailFuzzTV for as little as $1 per month and get some bonuses for your trouble and help keep everything coming for the many, many eons and future and whatnot and things. I don't know where that sentence was going. But that is us. Guys on Twitter at mail_fuzz for channel updates. But that is us. So thank you once again for watching or listening. We always appreciate it. Keep watching TV, guys. Have you got any vanilla?